Okay, y'all. Something we're going to talk about today, and it don't get talked about very often before these kids decide to go work at a prison or jail. The first time you have contact with an inmate, it's a different experience. Uh, First one I ever had contact with when I was uh, when I worked at the prison. It was a guy trying to be a girl. Man, I tell you, it was awkward. Uh, now it was just during class. But these kids, they they don't know what it's like to be a corrections officer and do it right. Because you don't get to go in there with a weapon or something to try to protect yourself. And a lot of times, all you go in there with, I should say, is a radio, pair of keys, and a pair of cuffs. That's all you get. And I'll tell you right now, it is a dangerous job. A very dangerous job. And you don't you don't get paid very much for the job, and it's a thankless job. But also on the other hand, it can help you in your to further your career in law enforcement, because I don't care what anybody says, a corrections officer is a police officer. Because in a facility, you're basically it's basically a city within a city. Because you got your mail, you got a little infirmary, uh, you got your kitchen, you get to go to the store, which commissary. I mean, so it's a city within a city, and there's also a jail inside the correctional facility, which is like it's called a segregated housing unit, but short segregation. And I know that word probably just pissed a lot of people off that don't know about corrections, but it's the truth. It's taken the bad boys out of population to try to keep the facility secure and safe. But I spent 10 years in working for this prison in Oklahoma, and I would have to say it was the greatest 10 years of my life. I actually enjoyed the job. I learned quite a bit, but also, on the other hand, it affected my marriage due to the fact of having to work long hours. And they'll tell you when you first start, when you walk in that gate, you check your emotions at that gate. Say you're having a fight with your better half or kids or whatever, you leave that at the gate because the inmates can use it to get a one up on you to try to get what they want. And I'm sure a lot of y'all seen in the news that all these women correctional officers that sleep with the male inmates. That that's a prime example of getting in their head to get what they want. And that's, you got to be a little stronger than that. It does take a special breed to work at a correctional facility. I mean, you'll see things. I've seen a guy hang himself. I've seen a guy get stabbed up, and I've seen a guy beat to the point he was unconscious. And it's all over the stupidest crap too. But I mean, you got to back to checking your emotions at the gate. Uh, it got to the point for myself, I just left my emotions at the gate. Didn't pick them up, didn't take them in. And it, like I said, it damn near cost me my marriage. It got to the point to where I required alcohol to be able to relax after the end of the day. Well, my day, because I work midnights. And but enough of that for right now. We are going to try to describe what a correctional officer does. Let's see here. No, that I don't even talk about it. But let's see. Yeah, a lot of working as a correctional officer will require a lot of standing, walking, because believe it or not, a prison or jail has to go by Department of Human Services rules. You gotta make sure, like midnight, you gotta check, make sure they're still alive and breathing. because that there could cause a person to get what they call a write-up and possibly even fired because you didn't really check and do your job to see if they was awake or breathing. So that's one major thing. And when you go to work for a correctional facility, you can't go in what they call John Wayne in it. You can't go in there with a chip on your shoulder because contrary to popular belief, it's not the staff that runs the prison, it's the inmates. They're the ones that run the prison. And it's an eerie experience whenever you first walk into a unit after all your training to a unit and you hear that door slam. I mean, that you got one officer yourself to, let's see, we'll use an example with the facility I worked at of 120 to 1. And that'll make the hair stand up on your neck. And at night, you got to make sure the right ones come out to work. I mean, it differs from all facilities. But back to being a corrections officer, and I'm not taking anything away from our boys and girls in blue, but corrections is just as stressful as being a police officer. It will wear on you mentally. And if you're not careful, I know of 3 people that had committed suicide due to the job. And so if you work in corrections, first responders, I mean anything like that, don't be afraid to ask for help, men or women, because it was hard for me to ask for help. And you gotta figure I stand 6'4", about 280 pounds, big old stocky redneck that was raised to, you only stick your hand out if you absolutely need the help. And come to find out I did need the help. So we're going to leave it at that. If you got any questions, concerns, constructive criticism, put a link down or put a comment down below, and right down there in this little corner you'll see the subscribe button. Hit that for me and hit that bell, and you won't miss any videos I download or upload, whatever you want to call it. So everybody out there, we'll see you later.